ready? Okay. All right. Good morning. Today is March 19th. We are here for the Personnel Board. My name is Mary Beth Marziotti. I am the Vice Chair. Substituting in for Peter Fox today, who is away.
Joan Gardecki.
Jim Dunn.
Lorna Wade.
Okay. We will open with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from February 19th?
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as they appear.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Next up is citizens' comments. I see a coat, but I don't see a citizen. Old business, we have an update on the wage study. Oh, Greg has stepped out. Oh, he hasn't come in. I saw him come in down there.
Yeah, he told me he was coming right up.
Okay. Rose, do you want to update us on the wage study, or would you like to wait for Greg to come back?
Well, is he coming?
He told me when on the elevator, he'd be right up, so.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't we just pause for a minute? I'll see what our time frame, because everything that we need to discuss, that he's got to
Sort of, yes.
take part in. Oh, were you able to put that on pause, or is it running? Greg said to be right in.
Good morning.
Morning.
That's fine, Jim.
Morning, Greg.
No problem. Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning. So we are on the wage study, and Rose and Greg worked on that.
Okay. About 2 weeks ago, we met with Rachel. Last week, she was on spring break. But at that time, she told us that she had written a letter on email, and with Greg's approval, it would be sent out. Was it sent?
It was, and we're waiting responses. So Rachel and I got together, and with Rose, we put together a list of what we thought were communities that were very similar. We both did it independently, and then we sat down and compared lists, and they're virtually the same. So yeah, that list is out. We're expecting responses back, and we'll have them forthwith. I'm not sure exactly when, but I did send the request out.
Mm-hmm. And that's where we stand now, sort of in limbo, waiting for the towns. And I think that she said there were about 10 towns. She chose towns that were similar in size, median income, about comparable to Dudley. When she gets all that information back, she'll be able to put
I
it
expect to have it
together.
by the end of the month. That's the deadline that I gave, the end of the month.
So, Greg,
Yeah.
did that also include towns that were equal or in economic
Yeah.
standing
that's-
as we are also?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, status of the town administrator's position.
So, good morning, first of all. Sorry I'm a little bit late. Got stuck in traffic this morning. The applications were distributed to the membership. You should have gotten your recommendations to Michelle. If you haven't, you should do so. I'm not involved in the picking or selecting of candidates. If you are, I would suggest once that list of 5 candidates is given to Michelle, that a preliminary interview be set up. You've in the past done screening, and I think that that's where you should be, and that should be your role. Looking at the date for that, So really, I'm not sure when the chairman is back, but the selectmen should be doing interviews at their meeting on April 8th. So it would be nice to have your recommendations, and we need your recommendations by that date of April 8th. And before that, so that we can bring people in. The selectmen will want to meet with between 3 and 4 candidates. It's up to you to decide who those 3 and 4 candidates are.
Greg, can I ask a question concerning any in-house applications? Is there a policy about courtesy interviewing in-house applications?
Not a formal policy, however, in the past, if the person meets your qualifications and you want to recommend them, you can do so. The selectmen will look at your list, and they reserve the right to bring in anyone maybe that you haven't interviewed, but your role in screening the candidates is important.
Thank you.
So I guess the question is, get your recommendations to Michelle.
Okay.
Don't send them to me, because I shouldn't be seeing who you're recommending for candidates. And again, looking at the schedule, selectmen will interview beginning on April 8th, and would like to have that process completed on or about the 22nd of April. It might be a little bit longer, but the goal is to have the person identified and voted and approved by the board prior to May 1st. That will ensure that there's sufficient time for the selected candidate to give their notice to their employer and complete contract negotiations with the selectmen with an anticipated start date of June 3rd, 2019. And my last day is May 31st.
Right, would the whole personnel board be interviewing them or only a subcommittee?
No, you have, I would suggest that it be the whole board, or as many members that can make it. I will give you questions, so don't want you to feel as though you're out there on your own. I'll put together questions for the interview. I think that's a process that we use for the library director and other library trustees. But you can also interview in executive session, and that's, I would suggest that you do so.
Okay.
Does the planning board plan to get together prior to this date? I mean, each one of us are gonna send our recommendations, or are we gonna come together?
No,
And
you don't need to come together. I think what you need to do is independently go through the applications
That's what we did last time.
and get Michelle your top 5 or 6 candidates.
all right, so we just give our.
Yeah, I think, because in the interest of time, that's the best way to do it. Then what Michelle will do is put together a master list and indicate the top candidates that have been rated, and once the chairman okays that, we'll set up an interview based upon your availability.
Because I noticed in our packet, Peter Fox has already submitted his list of.
Yeah, Mr. Fox was very quick in terms of going through and coming up with his candidates, and I don't know the exact number, but I don't think it'll take too long to go through.
So we can more or less follow that rule, the way he did it.
Yeah, I think the way he did it is probably a good way to do it. Identify your top 5. I think it's less important to rank them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as it is just to get the names out there. I think Joan had done it also.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Greg,
Yes.
will Michelle be setting up the interviews, or,
Once we know what the availability of the board is,
okay,
Michelle will set them.
okay.
Yep.
Next on the agenda is personnel database. Carol, can you give us an update on that?
I am still working on loading all of the present and past employees in there. I've also created a couple of queries, which are basically taking information from that database, such as the hire date. I can put in the hire date, and it will show everyone that's been entered so far when their hire date, or when their leave date, say they retired or whatever. I can set that up. If you know of any queries that you would like to see, I can try to create them. So if you think about it, just let me know if there's something that you want to see.
Mm-hmm. Okay, new business, employee handbook policy revisions. Carol or Greg?
So at your last meeting, you voted to adopt the merit increase or pay increase policy. That included pay adjustments. They'll all go to the personnel director, and the personnel director will make a recommendation to you. So no one should be coming directly to this board asking for a pay increase for their employees. They need to convince the personnel director before that's done. So in the future, I think your job will be made at least a little bit easier in terms of having a yes/no approval process versus kind of hearing people make a presentation to you right out of the gate.
Okay. And all the current policies, all the updates that we've made over the past year or two, you've put those all together into an updated personnel, employee handbook.
Yes, including all the policies that we've adopted to date. Some of them have not been, well, a large majority weren't included in the employee handbook. So when a new employee started, they would get what was in the employee handbook, but not a lot of the policies, like the open door policy, grievance, workplace, whatever I think it was domestic violence and things like that. All of those are now included in the handbook, so when a new employee starts, they have all of that information.
It's not all separate.
Greg,
Greg,
I have a question on that.
Yeah, you do.
If all the, excuse me, if all the policies are in the handbook, the ones that need to be signed, do they have to sign every policy, or just that they receive the handbook with the
The
policy?
handbook. And I think that's probably a good idea. One of the areas that I kind of wanted to take a look at is if you look at the employee handbook, it states, please see drug and alcohol policy, which is separate. And I've encountered recently that not everyone is aware of the fact that we have a drug and alcohol policy that's fairly detailed. So we should include that when the handbook gets distributed.
I have a question to go back to the merit increase. When I made a motion last meeting, there was I think we added a pay adjustment section to be included in it. I
Pardon
think
me?
because you had recommended that there be an adjustment made in there. It says, Ms. Wade moved to accept the proposed clarification changes to the benefits section and adding a pay adjustment section, including a compensation survey and revised job description in the employee handbook. You had made a recommendation that something be added.
So
Did
that
we
was
do-
that was updated in that.
So it was
language put-
updated and added, as you suggested.
It was,
All right, thank you.
so to speak, cast in concrete after your meeting.
And Carol, we have a new employment application.
The previous application didn't have the town information at the top. It did have Town of Dudley, but it didn't have the address and so forth, and I had looked at a few online of other towns that have similar sizes that we do, and basically on the last page, what I've done here is where it says agreement, I certify that the information on this application is true, complete, and accurate. To the best of my knowledge is something to add. This is all just what I've gotten from other applications. And then the part that is crossed out to be removed, and then in bold is to be added. And further clarification on the second paragraph where it says, and cross out, offer of employment is contingent upon passing a physical that applies to the essential functions of the job. The following paragraphs seem to explain it a little bit better, cover the town a little bit better.
Well, I'm going to, because I think it needs to, I'm going to make a motion that we accept the changes that have been made in our application for employment.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I will check with Greg to make sure that either has to go to town council or if it's okay to accept as is.
Okay.
And also, in your package is the job descriptions that have been received.
The what?
Job descriptions. I had sent out a letter, an email to all the department heads asking for updated job descriptions.
Have you
So
received
this
them?
is the- Yes.
All of them?
Yes.
But some of these haven't been updated for 8 years,
Yes.
so are you suggesting that we look at those descriptions, or have the people who are in charge update the descriptions if necessary?
Well, like, for instance, I think you're looking at, like, the COA coordinator, one of 2007. It hadn't changed, so they're going with that same,
And the one for 2011, there's no need for an update on that one?
correct.
Okay.
Pardon me? Oh, I don't know what happened there. I was just stepped out for a second.
There were some, if you notice on, like,
But it
town
should
hall
be.
custodian, on the second page, or zoning enforcement officer, those are obsolete. They've been changed with newer job descriptions.
And there's another one further down that's obsolete also? On that same page, second to the last is obsolete also?
Yes.
Madam Chair, I stepped out, so I'm a little bit in and out of the conversation here. On the page 4 of the employment applications, what is the changes that are made here? Can someone help me where those came from and what the purpose of them is?
Carol had,
I had looked at several other towns' applications, and some of the applications seem to be more detailed, and these are just proposals.
I just want to be sure that a person passing a physical examination, including a drug screening, drug and alcohol screening, is kind of critical to their employment here in the town.
That's
I mean,
not-
if it's covered elsewhere, I'm okay with it. I just want to be sure that we're not giving something up that's important to the town, that's all.
Okay.
You mean where it's bolded and I agree to take a physical?
Oh, the bolded?
That bolded is to be added. That wasn't there before. Anything that's bolded wasn't there before.
That explains why I was unfortunately out of the loop, because I was in and out of here. I apologize for that.
yeah, that seems like it's just more detailed. It says something similar, but it's more detailed.
It seems like it would cover the town better too, in the event of any situation.
I would only put in the first page 4, I agree to take physical examination, drug and alcohol, or psychological. So drug or alcohol and psychological, because we test for everything.
So which may include testing for drugs?
Drug
and
drugs
alcohol.
and alcohol.
Okay.
Question. Down the bottom of page 4, it says, also in Massachusetts to require a lie detector as a condition of employment or continued employment. An employer who violates this law shall be subject to criminal penalties under civil liability. Why did we have to put that in?
Yeah, I don't like
I mean,
it.
I understand what, it's in there, but to cover the person, make them feel good. But we don't even think about lie detectors. Why do we put it in?
It doesn't have to be. It's
That's true.
No.
I do think somewhere along the way in the employee handbook, having reference to that is probably not a bad idea. But I don't think it needs to be in the job application.
Whoever did it did a good job.
Carol, you made these changes?
Well, I don't,
Well, I
Or did you work
took them from other towns. That's what,
Yeah.
so
Oh,
it
of
wasn't-
course, yes, but,
so I am willing to take back my motion and have it read that we accept this application for employment with the omission of the paragraph concerning lie detector testing. That would satisfy
and add
your,
the
I'll take
alcohol.
back my second.
and also the adjustment with the drugs and alcohol, adding alcohol to it. So I'd be willing to make the motion to accept
Thanks, Chair.
this application for employment with those additions.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Greg, should that go to town council to review before?
No,
Not used.
it's fine.
Next on the agenda is Personnel Director's comments.
Hi, so the town meeting warrant is open until April 19th. So if there are any articles that the Personnel Board wishes to submit, please keep in mind the date of April 19th, which would give you an opportunity to review and approve those at your next meeting. The only thing that I can think of is I will take another look at the Personnel Director bylaw now that we've had 6 months to operate under it, and see whether there are any small changes that are needed in there. I don't see anything major with regard to that, but I will take another look at it again, and I'll do that for the entire personnel bylaw and see whether there are any small changes that might need to be made going into town meeting. But other than that, keep in mind the date of April 19th. And town meeting will be on May 20th this year, so just mark your calendar. I do expect that there will be an article dealing with the creation of a Department of Public Works. The selectmen will be holding a public hearing on that this coming Monday evening. So if you wish to hear more about the proposal, both good and bad, come to the meeting. And the article at town meeting will be in the form of adopting a special legislative act, because that's how you create a Department of Public Works. Keep in mind, the recommendation is to still retain an elected water and sewer commission, but to give them a little bit more of a policy-making role versus being involved in the day-to-day operation of the department. So if everything goes okay on Monday night, look for a town meeting article dealing with creation of the DPW. That's it, thank you.
Okay. Does anyone have any other business?
In your packets, there's a copy of the draft for the annual report, if you want to take a look at that and make sure that everything is okay. And the last thing is a letter of thanks from the library in the search process for the library director.
It looks fine to me. The report looks okay.
Mhm. Okay. So we have a motion to adjourn,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
9:26. Our next meeting will be April 16th. All in favor?
Aye.
I won't be here for town meeting, I'll be in the Bahamas.
You're lucky.
And I'm